What is a fact about the human body that not many people know about? Story 1. You hate the sound of your recorded voice because it's missing the low frequency you're used to hearing. When you talk, you hear your voice as it goes into the air and back to your ear. It also goes through your skull to your ear, and this bone conduction mechanism transmits the low frequencies better than the air does. Your recorded voice only has the air-transmitted sound. That causes the dissonance between what you think your voice sounds like and what it really does. It's also why your voice will almost always be a higher pitch than you think. Story 2. There's a right and a wrong way to swallow, and the first swallow pattern you learn isn't the right one. Babies swallow by pushing their whole tongue forward, since it's better for nursing. However, as you transition to solid foods, you were supposed to change to a swallow where you put the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth and roll the food back. Not everyone does this, and those that don't are more likely to choke, eat too fast, develop dental problems, and some develop a lisp or distorted sounds as they learn to talk. Story 3. The reason it's so easy to break your collarbone is because it is designed to break. It breaks there to stop the shock of impact from getting to your spine. Story 4. Your stomach is surrounded by more brain cells, 500 million neurons, than the brain of a cat contains in total. It's your enteric nervous system. It controls digestion, operates autonomously, has its own memory, can handle its own reflexes, and it has its own senses even. It's thought to have come about because of the blood-brain barrier, and the main brain being locked away in the skull, a spinal column, and nerves away from the critical action of nutrition. Story 5. You can live normally with half your brain. In some severe medicine-resistant epileptic syndromes, in young kids, the only option to stop the seizures is to remove a complete brain hemisphere. After a while, with proper re-education and all, the children can go on to have a normal life without cognitive deficits. One of the earliest signs of Alzheimer's disease, before memory loss, could be the loss of the sense of smell. It's also the case with Parkinson's disease. Our brain looks wrinkled because it is actually folded inside our skull to fit a maximum of surface and thus neurons and cell communications. Some animals, like rodents, have a completely smooth brain. Story 6. Alzheimer's disease isn't just a gradual loss of memory. It physically exists in the brain. It's a physical plaque substance that attacks the brain. Story 7. Your body will reduce your muscle strength to protect your spine. Stand on flat ground. Hold your arms out in a T pose, and have a friend push down on your hand while you try to hold it in place. That's your control, how strong you actually are. Now, remove one shoe, or put a book under one foot, and repeat with your hips askew so your spine isn't straight. An inch is all it takes. Your strength will be reduced to the point that your friend can use a single finger to push your hand down. Story 8. Your brain likes stimulation. If it doesn't get any, it will make some up. Some people are more susceptible to it than others. The colors you see before you fall asleep are a common mild occurrence. There are several classes of these hallucinations. Closed-eye visuals, which are caused by leaving your eyes closed for a long time. Hypnagogia, which is caused by the onset of sleep. Prisoner's cinema, which is caused by looking into a dark place for a long time. Ganzfeld effect, which is caused by blocking out all external stimuli. And Charles Bonnet syndrome, caused by sight loss. Most of these are simple phosphenes, but some can be whole imagined scenes or more abstract fractal-like imagery. Story 9. When you have a bowel movement, your heart rhythm shifts temporarily due to a vagus response. The reason Elvis died on the toilet was because his heart was beating 200 plus BPM, and the quick rhythm change caused a myocardial infarction. People with low heart rates have been known to pass out on the toilet because their bodies can't handle the shift. It's also why emergency medical technicians will absolutely not let you use the bathroom before getting in the ambulance, especially if the bathroom is a standard 5 foot by 8 foot. Story 10. Not many people realize just how crazy sweat is. Almost no other animal does it, and it's incredibly useful. A lot of people think that our brains were responsible for us becoming so great at hunting, but I'd argue throughout most of our species' history, sweat has been just as useful, if not more useful, for catching the next meal. In hot climates, one of the biggest limiters on how much an animal can exert itself is overheating. A cheetah can run insanely fast, but only for short bursts before it overheats. Almost all prey and predators in hot climates rely on short bursts of energy to hunt or escape. Think like a cat pouncing or a gazelle leaping into the air. The problem is, once they start to overheat, they can't cool off. All they can do is pretty much just pant and try to find shade and rest. On the move, there isn't really a good way that most animals can cool off. So instead, They just have to move slowly or in short bursts. Humans almost have a superpower because sweat allows us to cool off while moving. Even in hot climates, as long as we are hydrated, fit, and acclimated, we can keep at a jogging pace for hours, possibly even days. If you were to organize a marathon between all the animals in the animal kingdom, humans would likely come out on top, or at least in the top 5. We can even outlast horses over long distances. We became endurance hunters, a special kind of hunter that chases our prey until they collapse. It wasn't even fair for our prey. Like, at least with a lion they could evade it, but we would just chase them for hours, never letting them rest or cool off. Eventually, they would collapse, unable to run any further, and then it would be an easy kill. Hell, sometimes we wouldn't even need to kill the prey. They would do it themselves thanks to heat stroke. Later on, with the development of weapons, we started to become ambush hunters, but for most of our history, we hunted simply by outlasting our prey. While this made us vulnerable to ambush predators, it allowed us to hunt basically anything we could track. Didn't matter if it was the fastest land animal in existence, it couldn't outrun us. So next time you are all sweaty, think about how incredible a superpower we all have that we take for granted. How we can outrun almost every land animal in existence as long as it's a marathon, not a sprint. How, on a sunny day, rather than having to find shade or frantically pant, we just have our own built-in evaporation coolers all over our body. Then go take a shower. Just because it's awesome doesn't mean it doesn't smell. Story 11. The human body is covered in stripes known as Blaschko's lines, which are lines of the skin's cell development and are typically invisible to the human eye. They kind of look like animal stripes, but typically only become visible when skin or mucosa, mucous membrane, diseases manifest themselves according to these patterns. As well, human skin actually glows with its own form of bioluminescence. It is just too dim for our weak eyes to see. The brightest spots that glow appear around the forehead, neck, and cheeks. This glow is a side effect of our metabolism. Cell respiration produces highly reactive free radicals after interacting with free-floating lipids and proteins. These molecules can interact with fluorophores, emitting a photon and thus causing a glow. Cool, huh? Story 12. We are the best in the world at throwing, and it isn't even remotely close. Orangutans can hardly throw something 10 feet, and it's not accurate. We can nail a fleeing animal in the heart at 50 yards with a sharp stick and a strap of leather. We are in the top 5 endurance runners. In the heat of the day, only ostriches and camels beat us out. Humans can run all day long. Like really, all day. If you had to survive, you could run after prey for 10+ hours. Your ancestors did it, and here you are. Human beings have very high upper body strength. All that stuff about chimps being able to rip your arms out, it's not true. The average adult could absolutely destroy a lot of the other megafauna on Earth. You have a very powerful grasping appendage and unusually strong legs. The ability of human beings to lift and push is unique among animals. No other megafauna can lift and push as much as a human being with its grasping appendage, relative to body size, of course. Did you know that multiple people have single-handedly defeated bears, cougars, and wolves with their bare hands? Our eyesight is incredibly good, able to discern fine detail at a distance that allows most other animals to only see a vague blur. We are predators with binocular vision, and these things are pricey. We are sturdy, really sturdy. Injuries that would doom another animal are survivable for people. We are fairly resistant to toxins, can heal broken bones fairly easily, and restore major skin damage. Our digestive system is among the best in the world. We literally seek out and eat plants that ungulates with 4 stomach chambers wouldn't go near. We can eat practically anything. Chocolate and cashews, for example. Most animals would die from a couple of bites, while we can munch them all day. Story 13. Evolution is very weird. So instead of evolving scales, armor, etc., humans mostly just evolved to still be squishy, with easily punctured skin, and developed redundant or duplicate organs. You can lose several feet of your intestines and be fine. You only need 1 working kidney and 1 working lung. Your liver regrows, the heart can beat on its own, and you only need half your brain. If it is removed early enough in life, there's minimal to no deficits. A kidney donor has 1 kidney, but a kidney recipient typically has 3. It's usually easier and safer to just graft in the new kidney than remove the old, assuming the old isn't dying or infected and just stopped working. Most mothers are chimeras due to some fetal cells crossing the placenta. The cells can lodge and survive in the mother's body with no adverse effects. Story 14. Head, ears, nose, throat. There's a tube that connects your ears to your nose and back of your throat called the eustachian tube. This helps your ears pop when you go really high up, and it is also why you can taste eye drops or get a runny nose when you cry. Eyes. The eyes have an immune system that is separated from the rest of the body. That means that if something from the eye happens to get into the rest of the bloodstream, your body will attack it the same way it attacks a bacteria or virus. Brain. Your brain has a center for forming words, understanding words, and a part that connects the two. If you damage the forming/motor part, you always know what you want to say but are unable to say it. If you damage the understanding part, you speak fluent sentences but with random words that no one can understand. Most of the time, you don't realize it. Interestingly, if you damage the connector, you can speak mostly fine, but cannot repeat words or phrases. Heart. Broken heart syndrome is actually a real thing. When experiencing a significant amount of emotional or physical stress, stress hormones cause a portion of the heart to squeeze super tight so that the normally egg-like heart looks like a mushroom. This can obviously affect the heart's function and lead to death. Lungs. Smoking is absolutely bad for the lungs. Not only does it cause cancer, but the constant irritation from the smoke eats away at the air sacs that make up the lungs and causes them to collapse, trapping carbon dioxide inside without escape. Because of this, smokers feel like they cannot breathe out all of their air. This can be so stressful to the body, people can lose 20 to 30 pounds from constantly trying to breathe all that trapped air out. Stomach/intestines. The gut secretes a protein with the same structure/makeup as a snake and platypus venom. This helps protect us not from predators, but from bacteria and microbes that want to live inside of us. Liver. The liver can regenerate itself. If you literally cut off 2/3 of the liver, it can grow itself in about 2 weeks like the second leg of a gecko or something. Kidneys. Your kidneys actually are responsible for signaling the body to make more red blood cells. Many people with bad diabetes or kidney failure actually end up anemic because their kidneys are so sick. They can't make the hormone needed to make this signal. Muscles and bones. The muscles have special organs in them that will sense the amount of strain they are generating. If the strain crosses a certain threshold, these Golgi tendon organs will shut the muscles down to prevent the muscles from breaking the bones they're attached to. Skin. Many common skin conditions look completely different in people with light skin versus people with dark skin. Look up eczema light skin versus eczema dark skin. Most medical textbooks, unfortunately, only present these conditions in people with light skin. But there is a growing movement to document skin conditions in people of many different skin tones to better train the next generation of physicians. Reproductive system. There's a condition called 5-alpha reductase deficiency, where people are born with what appears to be female external features. However, once they hit puberty, the giant surge of hormones often causes these individuals to take on a more masculine appearance. These individuals take on either male or female gender roles. And some cultures actually have a much higher rate of this that there's a separate gender category for them. Story 15. We all have a major artery called the ascending aortic artery that runs down the center of our abdomen. Another artery called the superior mescentric artery branches off of that. There is a gap between the arteries that is kept open by a pad of fat, and the start of our intestines called the duodenum that passes right through the gap between the two arteries. Very, very rarely, something can happen to shrink the fat pad, and then the arteries act like a clamp and pinch the duodenum closed. This prevents anything, solid or liquid, from passing from the stomach into the intestines. This is called superior mesenteric artery syndrome. It is so rare. Story 16. 1. The proportion of your vision that is actually in sharp focus roughly equates to the size of your thumbnail at arm's length. The rest of it is just your visual cortex filling in the blanks. 2. Scars are not made of permanent tissue. They're held together by collagen and are in a constant state of repair. This repair is facilitated by vitamin C, amongst other things. Yes, this means that people with scurvy from vitamin C deficiency will see all their old scars reopen in the fresh wounds. 3. Pineapple contains bromelain, an enzyme that ingests proteins. Your meat parts are mostly made up of proteins, so when you're eating pineapple, it's also eating you.